What's up, Undisputed listeners? It's your boy, Sharpe. I wanted to tell you about my new podcast, Club Shay, where we always do something before two something. Each week, I sit down with a guest for a drink and conversation, and as host and proprietor of Club Shay, I've welcomed in esteemed guests such as Snoop Dogg, Floyd Money Mayweather, LeVar Ball, Isaiah Thomas, just to mention a few. Whether I'm talking to an athlete, a musician, an actor, or a lifelong friend, Club Shay is a place where people share inspiring and motivational stories about their journeys to prominence. The new episode drops every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to Club Shay now and make sure you never miss a new episode. Now back to Undisputed.
Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. They've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon. Let's get to it.
Welcome to Undisputed live from Los Angeles. I'm Jason McIntyre here again with LeVar Arrington and Chris Broussard. Good morning, guys.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Lakers, Broussard.
Get excited, folks. Come on, we got a great show today. Where's the energy?
Good morning, Lakers in Utah, Broussard.
All right, let's get started. Russell Wilson's teammate, L.J. Collier, has dismissed the trade rumors swirling around the quarterback. He told the NFL Network he puts zero stock in any of the rumors. He said, quote, not buying it at all. He's a winner, man. Russ is going to be our quarterback for years to come. This morning, however, a new report has surfaced just how much Wilson has been frustrated with the Seahawks offense. He stormed out of a meeting about how to fix the offense after he felt like his suggestions, they were being dismissed. LeVar Arrington, do you think the drama in Seattle has been overblown?
Well, drama is generally overblown, but there's real drama that's a part of the overblown drama of the drama. So when you look at what's going on with Russell Wilson here, we all know that there's that moment where Russ is sitting there at the Super Bowl watching what's taking place with Tom Brady. Every quarterback that has the type of reputation that Russ has is looking at that and feeling as though, why can't that be them? I mean, that's just human nature. So to see the reports, the speculation, all the things that are taking place right now, I think that it's somebody is trying to move the pieces on the board to get what they want to get. Is it Russ trying to get more say in who he wants on the team and who he can get on the team? Is it the Seahawks fishing Russ out there? One thing's for certain, media has always been a tool and a function for players and more so franchises to be able to let their messages be heard under the anonymity of or cover of the media. So there's truth to it. To what side, to what capacity, to what degree, I don't know. Collier sitting there saying there's zero credibility to it, zero credence to it. I don't know how long you've been in the league for, but there's always credibility to these types of reports, Chris.
Yeah, look, clearly some stuff is going on. I mean, Russ, he always has ended his interviews with what? Go Hawks. He didn't do that when he talked to Dan Patrick about being frustrated with getting hit so much. All right, and the reports are that, I mean, this latest one, obviously, he had a beef with the team about not listening to him over the play calls. But there was also a report that he spoke to the team after the season and wasn't happy with the way they responded to his concerns. So there is some smoke there. And like you said, there's drama. And then I think, LeVar, also, some of these other teams are also putting this out there. When we saw the report the other day about, it'll take 3 first-round picks, that was coming from other teams. They want to stir it up in Seattle. They'd love to get this thing popping to where it becomes so bad that Russell Wilson does become available. So there's some of that going on as well. So I agree with you, LeVar, in that there is some drama. There are some issues. However, we're big boys. All right, this is the National Football League. We're dealing with grown men. Put on your big boy pants, talk it out, and work it out. I'm sorry. I said it the other day. I'm not trading a franchise quarterback, Super Bowl winning quarterback, Hall of Fame bound quarterback who is 32 years old and has maybe a decade left in his prime because he's frustrated, because he's disappointed, because he may even be upset. Let's work this thing out. Everything else they need to fix, the offensive line, the defense, the running game, all of that is more fixable, easier fixed than getting a franchise quarterback, the talent and caliber of Russell Wilson.
That's true.
The Seattle Seahawks went from 1976 to 2011 without a franchise quarterback. They got one and they got their first Super Bowl. So I'm with Collier. Collier knows, I'm sure, about the blow up that the Athletic reported about. And he's saying that this happens. LeVar, you know this. Guys get in arguments. Guys get in fights. Teammates, coaches, and players. And when it gets out in the media, it does become a bigger deal because the headline, Arrington and Brown, had an argument in the locker room. That makes it.
I got stole by Trotter in the locker room, or in the meeting room one time. Punk. Yeah, but yeah, it did happen before. It was real drama. It's bigger in the headline, on the news, on the television shows than it might be in real life. And so I'm saying there is some drama. There are some things that need to be worked out, but they can be worked out.
Chris, here's the interesting point. Pete Carroll has always preached, hey, speak your mind, dating back to USC. I want my locker room open. I want Michael Bennett to speak out when he feels passionate about a subject. Richard Sherman, say what's on your mind. Earl Thomas, you too. So now Russell Wilson, very unhappy, says a bunch of stuff, and all of a sudden it's, whoa, Russ, what are you doing? Why are you upsetting the apple cart? I think all along I thought there's no way they're trading Russ. But you look at it and you're like, is there a little disrespect going on here on the Seahawks side? Russell Wilson's played there 9 seasons, okay? Never been under 500. 8 years they've gone to the playoffs. And then all of a sudden, Russ is unhappy because for the first half of the season, right, he's the MVP of the league. It's all we talked about, first 6-7 weeks. Russell Wilson is cooking. I love it. He's the MVP. He has 2 bad games, right? A clunker against the Bills, 4 turnovers, and the following week against the Rams, another 3-turnover game. And all of a sudden, Pete Carroll pulls it away. And LeVar, I was shocked when I saw this. We're running the football. No more throwing. And Russell Wilson, the second half of the season, looked unhappy. They fire the offensive coordinator. And LeVar, they had Russell Wilson sit in on meetings for the new offensive coordinator. He had input. And for him to still be unhappy, I'm starting to think there's a little more smoke here than anticipated. Like, it just feels like an unhappy marriage. I wouldn't know what that feels like, of course. I'm in a great marriage. But I'm sure some people out there can relate. Hey, man, when things go off the rails, do you meet and figure it out? Or do you just part ways and end it? I don't know, LeVar. It almost feels like maybe Russ gets his way and is leaving town.
Well, I first and foremost, I do not believe this is about Russ trying to force his way out of town. I made this point before when we talked about this subject in a past show. This is getting the attention on Russ to have an MVP campaign. You talked about how he started fast. He was cooking early in the season. It was an MVP candidacy taking place. Those turnovers, everybody said, throw it away. He threw it away. And you can't have interception games like Russ did and then be able to continue to compete to try to get the MVP award. That is basically the last award that he needs to get to truly solidify what has been a brilliant career. I believe that in the back of Russ's mind, maybe even front of mind, if he's being honest when he has these conversations, it's because I need to have a legacy play, which he did mention. It's about your legacy. And he wants to leave his legacy with an MVP award connected to it. And I think if they're not listening to what it is that he's saying, him getting an MVP award it's not like basketball. You can singularly play really well and be rewarded and be looked at because you can play defense and offense. You can play both sides of the court. There's a lot of things you can do. In football, His job is his job. And it takes every other guy on that team, the 10 guys on the side with him, the guys on the defense to do what they need to do for Russ to be able to have a fair opportunity to get that award. So that award is reflective of the team, not just him personally. And I think that Russell Wilson is trying to say, put me in position where I can be that top best guy in the league, be recognized for it, get that accolade. And that's going to play a whole lot into the success that we're able to have as a team as well.
I think LeVar, even more than the MVP, which obviously he'd love to have, but I think it's Super Bowls. I think he can look, in the athletic story, they talked about him being at that Super Bowl, looking at Pat Mahomes running around behind that makeshift offensive line and struggling with it. Obviously, he looked at the other side and saw Tom Brady winning his 7th Super Bowl. I think he's also looked at Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay and said, Aaron Rodgers is arguably the greatest to ever throw the football. He's been to not only one, but been to one Super Bowl. Hadn't been there in a decade. And if he looks at his own path, he sees something similar. Now it's been, 6 years since he's been to the Super Bowl? And all in Seattle, they seem fine with that. They're relevant. They're making the playoffs essentially every year. They're fine with that. And Russ is saying, no, I want to win Super Bowls. I want to have a historic legacy I think is based more on the Super Bowl championships than the MVPs.
I agree with some of that.
Obviously, I'm in the media, guys, too. Yeah. I'm in the media, obviously, and I know how this works. And to the question, overblown, I want to add this. Even though there is smoke there, I do think it's overblown. Remember when Tom Brady and Belichick were about to part ways? Now, ultimately, they did eventually, but they also won a Super Bowl together after all the talk about how they couldn't get along and they had to, part ways and they couldn't play another season together. This year, early in the year, Bruce Arians and Tom Brady. What is Bruce Arians doing? He's calling Brady out. He's saying he's not playing well. And everybody thinking it's not working. Brady made a mistake. It was nothing. Aaron Rodgers.
It was something, but they pulled through it.
After they lost,
they got through it. It was something, Brady.
No, but that's my point about big boy pants.
Yeah.
Yes, there's drama. There's drama in our lives, but you work through it. It doesn't mean you have to just give up and run away. And that's all I'm saying. I understand there's some issues there. But Chris, when you have a quarterback the caliber of Russell Wilson, you don't just throw up your hands and say, get him out of here. He's not happy.
This reminds me a little bit of the Dak Prescott conversation we had, right? Jerry Jones kind of refusing to pay him. Why? Well, he hasn't won a Super Bowl. He was a mid-round pick. There's this belief that he ain't the guy, okay? Look at Russell Wilson. This is a kid who was disrespected after a great year at NC State. He had to transfer to Wisconsin to finish his college career. Then he's a 3rd-round pick. He does get the Super Bowl, but remember, Earl Thomas and Richard Sherman in that locker room were like, this is the defense carrying us. He a game manager, okay? Russ hasn't been to an NFC championship since 2014, okay? Is Russ really the guy? There was an article out there that in 2018, the GM of Seattle, not an area scout, not a front office guy, the GM went to Josh Allen's workout at Wyoming ahead of the draft. Why are you looking at Josh Allen? You got Russell Wilson here, who's been to 2 Super Bowls. Is there still a little disrespect level happening in Seattle? I don't know, LeVar. Maybe they're saying, hey, Russ just keeps getting sacked because you know what? He's holding the ball too damn long. It's on Russ. It's almost like he's still got to overcome this thing. Yeah, he's a short quarterback. He ain't the prototypical guy. Listen, Tom Brady went through this early, guys. He was winning Super Bowls, still considered a game manager earlier in his career. He wasn't Drew Bledsoe, an early round top guy. This is a 6th-round pick in Brady. LeVar, I just wonder if you're not a 1st-round pick, are you still always having to overcome that, this is a game manager. Russ ain't winning. He doesn't have an MVP. LeVar, I feel like there is a level of disrespect that he's still got to overcome.
Well, I think everybody who comes in, even if you're a top draft pick, contrary to what people may believe or may not believe, high draft picks generally never are able to live up to the standard that is placed on them being a high draft pick. That plays against them. They get the money, they get the popularity, they get the fanfare. Then you get the later round draft picks. They're looked at differently. They're not as respected or as covered as well looked at as the early round draft picks, and they don't have much of an expectation at all. So when they exceed that expectation, then you're able to keep them in that low expectation pool, so to speak. So it works against you both ways, really. You get an opportunity to learn, understand what's going on a lot of times when you're not an early round draft pick. And a lot of times that plays a very, very large part in whether you have success or not in your professional career. But I'll also offer this. You know, we do know that professional ranks is the breeding ground. That is the so to speak, resting place of arrested development, right? So when we're talking about putting on big boy pants, a lot of people are not as mature and as adult driven as most people may think. You're actually able to stay in this childish type of, socially awkward type of approach to life because you're insulated by the professional ranks that you're existing in. And that's across the board. You're able to live, in the facilities. They have everything there for you, or you're at each other's places and you're playing video games and you're riding scooters and you're doing things that teenagers and younger people that have not, gone into adulthood, what they do. So I don't always look at, let's be adults about this, let's be mature about this. Sometimes you can look at things and look at it as just as simple as, this is what I want. I want a lollipop from the store. Please take me there to get me a blow pop. I don't want a dum-dum pop or any. I want that specific particular one. And a lot of times that's how we handle things as athletes. We want what we want. We're focused on what we want. And Russell Wilson, I agree with you, Chris. He does want that Super Bowl. We bring up those Super Bowls. His last Super Bowl play is not a very memorable one, good memory for him. It's a horrible memory for him. I'm sure he wants to redeem himself of throwing a game-losing interception to the Patriots. So he could have, what's interesting on that point, Tom Brady, I was talking to, when we interviewed Byron Leftwich not too long ago, he was talking about on Antonio Brown's touchdown pass, it was almost an identical route to what they ran in that Super Bowl with Russell Wilson. So when Russ threw it, he threw it on timing. Like, I'm throwing it, this is the timing, I'm doing it. It was a wrong, incorrect route by Antonio Brown, and Tom Brady held it until he got back into his route and then threw it. Those are the minute differences that you see, and you say those are what define careers. Those are what define wins and getting MVPs. I think he wants this MVP. I agree with you. It's certain he wants those Super Bowls. I think it all works together to build the legacy of what Russell is really focused in on. He has an idea and a picture of what he wants his legacy to look like, what he wants to be remembered for. And it's as simple as that. He's focused in on that. And if you're in the way of that, you're not with him. And right now it seems as though the Seattle Seahawks aren't with him on trying to get to that goal.
Yeah, I hear you, LeVar, and I think you made a good point about some arrested development, and could be in professional sports. I do think Russ is different. I think that's one of the things that's always separated him is his, he's just on a different level, a lot more mature than a lot of guys his age. That dates back to his college career. Mm-hmm. You could see that in him, and that's why he was able to take over the starting job right away when he got to Seattle. And then, of course, you're dealing with Pete Carroll. Now, J-Mac, you made an interesting point about Carroll always saying, hey, come out and say something and this and that. But that hasn't necessarily been the case when push comes to shove. He didn't really want to hear about how he made the terrible play call. You talked about Russell throwing the pass. Yes, it was a bad throw, and he has to own it. But I blame Pete Carroll more than anyone for that play call. And so I agree that Carroll hasn't always been open to that, but he's an older man. He should be mature enough to understand the situation. J-Mac, I don't agree that they're still doubting Russell Wilson and still thinking he's a game manager. If you want to say that his first couple years, okay, but remember that team was 7-9 the year before he took over and started as a rookie and led them to great heights. So it's not like they were a team that was rolling and he just stepped in and benefited from everyone else. He was a major part of that. And then since they got to the last Super Bowl, he's been the game manager. There's no way.
Yeah.
He's the only reason that they've been making the playoffs because he's running for his life. He's making lemonade out of lemons. He's creating stuff where nothing else exists. If anybody looks at Russell Wilson and says game manager, I don't know what they're seeing. And so I can't believe that Seattle thinks that he's not quite as good as he is. He's not as good as Pat Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he'll get that MVP award. But he is an elite quarterback
But
who
that's
is bound
the
for the Hall
very
of Fame.
you just gave
yeah.
the very reason, Broussard. He does not want to hear Chris Broussard say what you just said out of your mouth. Mac, this has got to be what's driving him. He wants us sitting here speaking on him at the same level that we speak on a Pat Mahomes or a Aaron Rodgers.
And remember, Chris, when Russ was early in his career, they spent on the offensive line, okay? Then they got to pay Russ, and they said, where are we going to take away from? Well, we're going to take away from the offensive line. And now Russell Wilson, listen, one of the troubling stats out there is that he takes a lot of sacks. He just said he wants to play 10 or 15 more years. He's watching Brady, okay? If he plays another 10 years and a sack 20 times a season, right? That seems low given Russ is running for his life every play back there in the pocket. He will be the most sacked quarterback in NFL history. And we could say he holds the ball too long all we want, but we also have to say they have not invested in the offensive line, and Russell Wilson has a lot of gripes. LeVar, I don't know how often you guys look at the history of Seattle Seahawks drafting. They have been awful in early rounds. Total wasted picks. Hey, LJ Collier, we quoted him earlier. Dude's been a bust. I'm sorry. Rashard Penny, what's he done? Can't stay healthy. Seattle has not hit on their picks. And when you pay your quarterback and you start losing from the secondary, Earl Thomas, Richard Sherman, you got to rebuild the Legion of Boom. They just haven't hit. So Russ, his next mission, hey, front office, when are you guys going to start hitting free agents? When are you going to start hitting on your draft picks? Oh, we don't have draft picks. We just got Jamal Adams from the Jets. Deal doesn't look that great, LeVar. I know you're a defensive guy. Hey, Jamal Adams can't cover anybody in cover. He couldn't cover Chris Broussard on an out route now.
But he can hit.
He can hit people, but what's good is that?
Well, it's good if you have a safety that can cover.
He can stick.
You got to have a safety that can cover to go with a safety that can hit. That's what they had with Cam Chancellor and Earl Thomas.
No mercy.
Hey, Undisputed listeners, I wanted to tell you about our brand new Fox Sports app and website, foxsports.com. Reimagined for the modern sports fan. Go ahead, download the new app right now. You don't even have to pause this episode. Every day on the new app and website, you'll see the top stories in sports, plus a rich world of written content, videos, social media, and analytics to give you a 360-degree view of the most important stories of the day. Streaming live TV has never been so easy or elegant. Every Fox Sports game, including all pregame and postgame shows, are just one click away. For the extra invested fan, we also go deep with real-time wagering lines, trending prop bets, win probability, and key player projections. Download the new Fox Sports app or visit www.foxsports.com.
Hey, Undisputed listeners, it's Charlotte Wilder here to tell you about my new podcast with Mark Titus called the People Sports Podcast. It comes out every Thursday, and Mark and I take one of the big stories of the week, and then we go off on tangents you never saw coming. This might mean that we start talking about the Dodgers winning the World Series and end up wondering if Knicks fans deserve happiness. Or begin with LeBron's greatness and end up drafting our ultimate beer league softball team made up of old athletes. Whatever it is, the only rule of the show is that it has to be fun and funny, because these days we could all use as many laughs as we can get. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts and come down weird sports rabbit holes with us. We can't wait to have you.
The Utah Jazz handed LeBron and the Lakers their worst defeat of the NBA season last night in a 114-89 blowout. The four-game losing streak matches the longest the Lakers have had in the past two seasons. LA's next three games, oh boy, Portland, Golden State, Phoenix. After the game, LeBron said, quote, "It's a tough stretch for us. You know this won't define who we will be for the rest of the season and for the long haul. That's for sure. Chris Broussard, I know you're chomping at the bit. Big deal or no deal? That LeBron squad got blown out.
Guys, I told you, I've been telling you all week, relax, all right? It's not a big deal. I mean, first of all, let's just look at the facts. The Lakers are without their second and third best players, all right? They're without their second and third highest scores. So you're supposed to go into Utah, which is a great home court advantage, a team that's the hottest in the NBA, and you've got one of your stars, LeBron James, and you're just supposed to beat that team? It could have happened, and it wouldn't have been a big deal that way either. This is not a big deal, guys. It's February 25th. The playoffs, the NBA just announced it yesterday. They start in 3 months. All right, there's plenty of time for the Lakers to right themselves. And I get it. Frank Vogel can't go into the locker room and say what I just said. LeBron James doesn't go into the locker room and say what I just said. They got to keep that urgency. Oh, we got to right this thing. We got to get it. I get all that. But I'm not a Laker. I have I can look at this from the outside. I have the wider view. I can take the long view. They will be fine. They're not healthy, guys. I actually agree with Markieff Morris and LeBron James when they said this could be good for us. This will be good for us. Because the Lakers probably, outside of LeBron, who's obviously won enough, the other guys are probably reading the press clippings. They're probably watching all these shows and everybody's saying, oh, it's the Lakers in the West. Clippers got nothing for them. Utah's not legit. It's easily the Lakers. They might be seeing that. And now they have to look in the mirror and say, uh-oh, it is going to be tough. This is not going to be a cakewalk. Now a Kyle Kuzma and all these other guys, KCP, they have to look in the mirror and say, are we as good as we thought we were? You know, without the buffer of AD there, without Dennis Schroeder there to create plays along with LeBron, are we really all that? This can be good for them. So I'm fine with this. In fact, if I'm the Lakers, if I'm Frank Vogel, if I'm the Brain Trust, I might like it. I might like it. So let's get in the gym and work. Let's take that break over All-Star time, rest, get your body right, and come back ready to fight for this Western Conference crown because it will be a fight.
You know what type of friend you were in school. You know what type of person you were in school, Broussard. You were the playground fight promoter. That's what you were. You started the fight, and you knew the kid was going to get his tail kicked, and he was your friend, and you still promoted that fight. You're wrong. You're wrong, Broussard. I'm here to tell you. Go ahead, J-Mac. You're wrong.
I want to hear this, LeVar, before you go. I want to hear this from you quickly, because you sat on here and said this is a must-win.
Yes.
Now, usually when a team loses a must-win, guess what? They go home. It's 1-2-3 Cancun. So now that they've lost this must-win, what's next for the Lakers?
No, this was not an eliminator. This was not a must-win final game of the series. See, you're trying to frame it. You're trying to frame it because you're always qualifying. And I like it. I like how you're doing it.
Win.
This was not a must-win. You're getting eliminated from the tournament. You can't make the playoffs. You can't do. It wasn't must-win as in do or die. This was must-win. You are a team that is losing. And you're not just losing. You are in total disarray. To say that this wasn't a must-win in terms of, again, stopping the losing, get a win. If you even lose, don't lose the way you lost last night. You got Gasol shooting threes. He don't even want to go down low. He don't want no parts of going down low in that paint. Ain't want nothing to do with it. You got Gobert dominating them in the paint. You got no defense. They did what they wanted to do to this Lakers team, whatever they wanted. And just like we said on the show, they were going to live and die by fast-paced basketball. Didn't work. Small ball, didn't work. And the three ball, didn't work. Didn't shoot well, didn't pass well, didn't play defense well, did nothing well, Broussard. How can you sit there and say that it's not a must-win when you're playing that bad? So you're telling me we're going to play like some trash all this time. Like, it's all good. We don't got Schroeder. We don't got AD. But we're going to play like some trash the whole time. And then when they get back, all of a sudden, we're just going to transform from this trash team to this amazing dope team that goes out and can whoop everybody. Well, I don't buy that, and that's why it was a must-win.
Broussard just said losing by 25 is a good thing. Frank Vogel must be thrilled. Maybe he's, kicking back with a couple beers, very excited. Chris, there were some troubling things last night. Now, I will say the first quarter was great. Nice to see the Lakers come out with fire. When I saw my guy, Jared Dudley, shout to Jared Dudley, come out for 7 minutes in the second quarter, I knew, okay, it's a wrap. Lakers are mailing this one in. I even texted you, LeBron will not be on the court in the fourth quarter. Listen, there were some troubling signs, Chris. You have to admit this. Kyle Kuzma, again, as unreliable as the Wi-Fi in my basement. He just ain't delivering. I'm sorry. It's not happening for Kuzma. And I like him. They need him. But this anemic Lakers offense, Chris, okay? They can't do anything to score points. When LeBron's off the court, those non-LeBron minutes are lost badly, okay? I don't see these great takeaways that you're seeing. A 25-point loss where Jordan Clarkson is giving you buckets left and right.
Work.
Jordan Clarkson ate whatever he wanted. The Lakers put up no resistance. And Chris, on Monday on this show, I came out, one of the first things out of my mouth, we are going to see the Lakers go on a GameStop-type cratering. And what have they done all week? Lose games. And now we're hearing this, it doesn't matter. Chris, the schedule for the second half came out yesterday. The Lakers have the third most difficult schedule in the second half. 8 back-to-backs in the second half of the season, okay? This is a LeBron, Anthony Davis team. I'm concerned. It's official. The Lakers are in trouble. And I don't mean like they're going to miss the playoffs. But, Chris, you can't tell me that this is a top 2 or 3 seed in the West right now, the way this is tracking.
So J-Mac, I got one question for you. Are the Lakers reaching the finals?
No.
You got to make a pick right now.
No.
I don't know. They do not right now look like a finals team.
Now, LeVar, I'll take that. Okay, LeVar's backing up his words.
No.
But you're talking about how much trouble they're in. That's trouble. Finishing with the 4th seed isn't trouble if they're going to still get to the finals. Finishing with the 3rd seed, 5th seed isn't trouble if they're still going to get to the finals.
Seed, they got to play the Clippers
You're saying
in the
you don't
round.
know. You're saying you don't know because there's 3 months left in the regular season. And again, you guys didn't hear me apparently. Anthony Davis and Dennis Schroeder aren't there. And LeVar, yes, you're right. When you put one of the top 10 players in the league on the court, and when you put one of the best defensive guards in the league on the court, yes, your team's going to skyrocket. They're going to be much better. What happens in the NBA is when guys get hurt. See, what's happened is guys have gotten hurt. So now a Kyle Kuzma, instead of being a role player who, if he gives us his 12 points, that's great. Or Wesley Matthews, if he hits a few threes and plays some defense, that's great. Marc Gasol, just be your finesse game and hit some threes and be smart on the court, pass the ball well, get a few outlet passes. That's great. Without Anthony Davis and Dennis Schroeder, now all of a sudden, they move up a level. And now Kuzma, I need 17, period. No excuses, I need 17. Wesley Matthews, KCP, you can't be off. We can't win with you shooting 30% from 3 now. But when those guys get back, everybody settles back into their normal place.
I'm not giving you Schroeder.
And that's where the Lakers will be.
I think you're overblowing Schroeder.
Schroeder's a great defender.
I think he's a fine basketball player, but he's not a transformative basketball player. He fits a role.
Agreed.
He fits a role.
He's a third guy.
And then when you look at AD, I don't know what AD is going to be when he gets back. The biggest issue I saw in that game last night that I have been seeing with this Lakers team, they are putting, and this is a big key, you are putting way too much pressure on Montrezl Harrell to be something that he can't be in the current circumstances. He can't be that force down low if he is the only one down there fighting to try to make something happen. Your boy Gasol selling him out. I'm sorry. I'm sitting there looking at it like he is selling. Montrez is taking on 2-3 dudes when that ball goes up, and all they doing is shooting bricks, throwing bricks, building houses. I don't know, but if you don't have that presence, and I know AD can rebound, and probably LeBron to step up his crashing the boards ability. I get all that. I understand that. But their lack of a presence in that paint, to me, and the lack of physicality, because the Utah team, if you're not able to be physical with them and match them points-wise, those two things, physical and match them points-wise, you ain't going to beat them. You're not going to beat them in a series. So I don't see the Lakers being a team that can win a series right now the way they're configured. Even if you were to add those two guys back healthy, I do not see them getting to the point of where they are that good today. If I had to make that decision and determination today, I do not see the Lakers being good enough in the paint when you got Gasol just sitting on the outside. He's just sitting on the outside. He made more threes than the little guys. Well, if he's making more threes than some of the shooters, then who's down low? Montrez, all by himself. That's not a winning formula. He don't want to be down there.
I mean, Chris, we know that LeBron cannot do everything at 36. I sat here Tuesday and said LeBron's the MVP, and these Philadelphia people have just been besieging me online. I'm under fire, Chris. Joel Embiid's got to be the MVP. I don't think LeBron can lose it this week, but Chris, again, when you factor in the schedule, the injuries, the Laker losses, the schedule coming up, it ain't easy, okay? LeBron MVP, is he still your MVP leader here on February 25th?
I said it a few days ago that right now Joel Embiid's got the lead. It's back and forth. Several weeks ago it was Embiid. Then I thought LeBron took over the lead. Now it's back to Embiid. So look, again, 3 months left to the season. We'll see what happens. There's a few other guys in the mix too. James Harden, don't forget him. But LeBron he's not out of it. He is still in the race, but he's come back to the pack, and he doesn't have an advantage. I don't know how you could sit here and say LeBron is definitively the MVP right now. How? Because we're seeing them lose time and time again without AD, the second best player. And so that is working against him, but he's not out of it.
Yeah, well,
Embiid shot 3 for 13. Embiid shot 3 for 13 the other night.
His teammates are pushing him out. His teammates are letting him down. LeBron is at his best when he's able to facilitate. You got to make some of those shots to make his facilitating of the offense work. If they're not making shots, then LeBron can hit you with that dual threat, right? Can I slash and go score, which he did great at times in the game last night? I create that space. Now I'm going to dish it out. I dish it out, and you shooting bricks. You're shooting bricks. So now when I'm trying to facilitate, you know what they're going to say? Do not allow LeBron to get to the cup. Make him dish it. We'll wait. We'll adjust. If they make a couple, we'll adjust. But make them beat us with that long ball. And they are not making the shots they need to pull and loosen up that defense as it applies to how they're focusing in on LeBron. That's the reason why he's not looking like an MVP right now, because he's not getting conversions. And it's not creating that back and forth harmonious type of movement on the court. I could take it to the rim. Bang, right? I could dish it out. Yak. All right, go ahead, get that. Yeah, 3, right? You don't have that with the Lakers right now. You do not have that. It's like this. It's like this. Please go in. Please go in.
Caruso, show me something. Much has been made about Zion Williamson's path to superstardom, but this season, Stan Van Gundy's move to put the ball in Zion's hands has unlocked new facets of his game. Zion dropped 32 last night, and at 20 years old, he just became the 4th youngest All-Star behind Kobe, LeBron, and Magic. Chris, is this proof Zion has lived up to the hype of a future MVP player?
He's lived up to the hype. There's no question about that. I think anybody that denied that, I don't know what you're seeing. Now, I'm not saying he's guaranteed to win an MVP award. We'll see. But certainly he looks like a guy that can win an MVP. So I love what I'm seeing from Zion for the most part. There are issues, and I'll get to those. But, yes, he's playing tremendous basketball. Remember, this is almost really could be categorized as his first year. He only played 24 games a year ago. And so it's kind of like it's almost his first year, and he is averaging 25 points on 62% shooting. And as you said in the intro, J-Mac, a big key. It's not the key to him scoring because he's been scoring since he stepped on the floor. But now that Stan Van Gundy has put the ball in his hands and unlocked this other part of Zion's game, I think now you're really going to see him unlock. It's been about 10 to 12 games or so where you see Zion handling the ball more. He's in the pick and roll more. He's bringing the ball up court more. Remember, he was the guy in that comeback over Boston. He penetrated, had the ball at the top of the key, penetrated, drew 3 Celtics defenders, 3, and kicked it out to Brandon Ingram for the game-winning three-pointer. So Zion, with his ball handling, his athleticism, his strength, his size, and in today's NBA where the floor is spread, you can't stop him from getting to the rim. And so now this is going to be, offensively, I think this is great for him. There are areas he needs to work on. Obviously, he's not a three-point shooter at all. So that's something that over time he will get. It will take years probably. He's got to become a better foul shooter. He's done that better this year. But the thing that disappoints me the most is the rebounding. At that size, with that leaping ability, that explosion, for him to be averaging 6 rebounds a game, that's almost a travesty. And in these last 10, he's averaged 5 rebounds a game. Okay, so I got to get better rebounding from him. And then defensively, he's got to improve. He's not much of an off-ball defender at all. Not unusual for young guys. LeBron came into the league, turned into a great defender, but early on he wasn't much of a defender either. So I'm not going to kill Zion for that. But, yeah, offensively, he has lived up to the hype. And let me say this lastly. I don't want to hear people talking about, oh, but their record, the Pelicans aren't winning. How can Zion be playing so well if they're not winning?
So mad.
He's young. All right, you get a grace period. LeBron James didn't make the playoffs his first 2 years in the league, but he was balling. You know, Kevin Durant didn't make the playoffs his first 2 years in the league, but he was balling. And Zion may not make the playoffs year, but the boy is balling. Yes, he's lived up to the hype.
You want it, Mac, or you want me to take it?
I have a bad feeling about this.
I'm going to make y'all really upset with my
That
take.
was a mic drop.
I'm going to make y'all upset.
Nothing to say.
I'm going to actually walk by your mic and kick it off the stage because for me, and this might offend a lot of people, but when I look at how Zion plays, he's lived up to the hype of being able to come in and be a difference maker, an impact player. We love his explosive ability, right? That's what really is most attractive, is how explosive he is with the size that he has. He's not big enough to be the explosive, athletic guy of a Shaquille O'Neal. So he's not going to be a dominant Shaq O'Neal big man in this league. You talked about him taking 3-pointers. He has to be more skilled. He's not as skilled, nowhere near, nowhere close, not comparable to a smaller but taller guy like a Kevin Durant or a LeBron James. You're not going to compare them skill-wise, in my humble estimation. He falls somewhere in and around that realm of Shawn Kemp, Chris Webber, Larry Johnson. I love those guys. Coming out of college, if you said to me, are they going to be MVP caliber guys? We'd all say yes. We'd all think that Shawn Kemp is going to, which he did dominate. But he was not that next tier greatest of all time player. He needed Gary Payton. He needed a lot of elements that could help him to be the dominant player that he was. It wasn't him creating those opportunities. The guys that are MVP players in this league are guys that can create their opportunities from outside, inside, unless they are just stone cold dominant like Shaquille O'Neal. So to me, I think he's lived up to the hype. I think he's a great talent. But next level MVP talent, I don't give him that.
Okay. Listen, I was worried where it was going, but I'll give you a B- on that, LeVar.
Okay.
It's fair. He did make a great point, Chris. As you said, Zion has to level up next year and add a perimeter aspect to his game. He doesn't have that right now. In fact, he doesn't rebound. He doesn't steal the basketball. He doesn't really block shots outside of a couple highlights. He is very limited. But 54 games, he's averaging 24 points. 6 guys have done that in their first 54 games. That's it. And it's the level of David Robinson, Shaq, etc. I will say this. Zion Williamson, 5th in the league in player efficiency rating. Chris, we know when he gets the ball, it's lights out. Just ring it up. It's a bucket. But I want to see him make that leap to even a guy like Blake Griffin. Remember, Blake Griffin was all dunks and flash. He started to add the three-point shot. A guy like Russell Westbrook was all dunks and flash. He never really added the perimeter game, and now he's extremely limited. Even Allen Iverson, dynamic, amazing scorer, never really was a great three-point threat. I think if Zion can extend to the perimeter and start making those shots, then he becomes a 1, 2, maybe even 3-time NBA MVP. Chris, I do believe he can be on that trajectory. The question is, how bad does he want it? You know, at 20 years old, if you're overpowering everybody in the lane, there really isn't, I don't need to shoot threes. I don't need to extend my game and become a Charles Barkley where I'm dominating the glass, going end to end. He's capable of that. The question is, does he want to do it? I don't know the answer to that, but yes, I do believe Zion is a 1 or 2 MVP
You guys
player.
think he can take over for LeBron James? Do you guys think
Face of the league,
do you
yes.
guys think he could take over and be as dominant in this league as LeBron James?
Yes.
Wow.
No.
At his ceiling, if he really works at it, certainly.
He is nowhere near.
Not even in the conversation.
He can be. I agree with LeVar. He can be an elite scorer. He darn near already is an elite scorer. Okay, he can be at the top of the charts in terms of scoring in today's NBA. But he doesn't do the things LeBron James does. He's a nice playmaker. He ain't LeBron James playmaking.
But he never will
and
be.
He's probably never going to be a great shooter. He'll improve. He'll be okay. Where I disagree with you, LeVar, is you said he's not Shaq, and obviously he's not. He's half the size of Shaq as far as height. But today's NBA is different. That lane is wide open. They play 4 and 5 out. So he will be able to get into the paint. Back in the day, he wouldn't have been scoring 20 points a game in the paint. You know, it was too congested, and there was too many bodies in there. But now with his handle, his quickness, he can get to the paint, and once he get there, there's 1 or 2 defenders to try to stop him.
Hey, Brew.
So I do think he'll be able to continue to score a lot, but I'm not putting him on the level. I don't think he'll ever be a LeBron James. And he may not win an MVP. He may be a second star.
I don't see that. I told Saquon Barkley this his last year in school. The wind blows highest. The wind blows hardest at the top of that flagpole. And you don't really know how hard it is until everybody sees you blowing at the top of that flagpole. That's when we know you're great. You walk up to somebody's table and you take their food and you ain't know they was coming up to take your food. And you get a hold of it and you eating their chicken wing. It's like, man, dude just came and grabbed my food. But you didn't know he was coming to the table and you ain't know he was coming to take your food. Well, once he goes in that lane and now we're talking about MVP talk and GOAT talk and can he transition and be that guy? Now you're coming to the table and they know you coming to the table. So that lane that you're talking about, if he actually transcends into being that type of player where we have to talk about dominant player that's heading for an MVP award or bid, they're not going to just let him walk up to the table. You got to be bad enough to come to the table and still take the food, not sneak up on it and get a hold of it. They're not going to just give him that lane. If he is the guy, They're not going to just give him that lane. New NBA and all, they're not just going to do it. And I see the way they're playing against LeBron right now and packing in the key. They're not going to just give him that lane. He's going to have to be able to create space. He's going to have to be able to create shots, or he had better hope for a guy that can do it for him. It's going to have to be one of the two.
LeVar, remember when Steph Curry was 20, when Giannis was 20, nobody said those guys are going to be MVPs. Nobody said that. And the MVP is a regular season award. In the playoffs, we see how they defend Giannis. They stop him. We'll build a wall at the foul line. Good luck. Nobody's doing that in the regular season. Zion's going to continue to stack numbers at a ridiculous rate, especially when the Pelicans get some real players around him. I think you guys are selling Zion a little bit low here. He's 20. Look at the numbers he's putting up. He's played 54 games, not even a full season, Chris.
Well, look, LeVar, if Zion were going to be a ball handler the whole time, then I would agree with you. If he's coming down the court, you can box off that lane and keep him out of it. I think he's only going to handle the ball some of the time. Other times he's going to be on that baseline. He's going to be moving around the paint. He moves well without the ball. He's cutting, and he's getting easy buckets that way. He runs the floor. So I think, look, everybody already knows.
But we're talking about
They know he's only going to score in the paint.
You have to dominate.
They know he's going to score in the paint, and they know he's going to his left hand. They know he's always spinning back left, and they still can't stop him.
I am not disagreeing with you. I'm totally agreeing with you. But what I'm saying to you is, you mentioned David Robinson, Mac. You mentioned we mentioned Shaquille O'Neal. We mentioned Charles Barkley. We mentioned we're mentioning guys that you either dominated as a low post guy. You were a low post guy that dominated and became that MVP caliber player as a big man. Or we're talking about you have everything, right? KD, he has everything. LeBron, he has everything. If we're going outside of that to a Steph Curry, we all know if you can't shoot like Steph Curry, then you're not even going to be in the conversation, right? Let's just start it and stop it there. So to me, I look at Zion is the biggest issue that I have in looking at can he become that MVP player is I don't think he's big enough to be a legit big man in the league. I do not think he's big enough to be a legit big man. And I do not think that he is skilled enough or prolific a scorer enough to be able to score from anywhere out there on the court, which means to me, he's somewhere in that tweener stage. And that makes me feel like the names that I brought up earlier.
Not a legitimate big man. He leads the NBA in points in the paint.
So,
what do you mean that not a legitimate big man?
I don't see him being a legit big man. When I say legit big man, I mean looking at the true characteristics of what a big man brings to the table. He is not on the level of a big man of Shaquille O'Neal or David Robinson or Nakeem Olajuwon. He's not on the level of a true
Those guys
big man.
don't exist.
Yeah, they don't exist in the NBA. The NBA has gone away from that.
Those guys don't exist anymore.
All I'm saying
is Joel Embiid is out on the perimeter.
He's on the perimeter. I mean, a lot of these tall guys are on the perimeters now. You got 7-footers like KD, 6'11", all. I get that. The length of the game has changed. I understand that. But there's still something to be said. If you're going to dominate in the paint, you still have to be able to go down there amongst the trees and be able to dominate in the paint. I just look at it that way, or you got to be able to create off the dribble, and you got to be able to have a shot, mid-range shot to long-range shots. That's just how I look at it. I mean, that's my take on it.
My comp coming out of school for Zion was Charles Barkley, and that's still my comp. I think he can develop a shot like Barkley did, but and be a Charles Barkley type player, which is true.
He is a Charles Barkley type player, but I think that Charles Barkley had more tools in his toolbox than Zion.
Charles Barkley won an MVP,
yes,
right?
He did.
I believe late in his career as he morphed into a shooter. Zion will, guys.
No mercy.
The Bucks are hoping to keep as much of their championship roster intact as possible. And that starts with Super Bowl MVP Tom Brady. GM Jason Light said yesterday, Tampa would like to keep Brady in uniform for as long as Brady wants to play, and they would be, quote, elated if they could extend his current contract. That's 2 years. Bruce Arians also gave an update yesterday on Brady's recovery from off-season knee surgery and said Brady would be ready for 7-on-7 field work around June. Fox Sports NFL analyst Greg Jennings now with us. Greg, Tom Brady will be 44 next season. Any worry he could have a major drop-off?
The only concern that I have is that the most prolific free agent that's going to be sought after, I think it was Father Time, Chris, you said, right?
Got him.
No, I'm not concerned. I am not concerned. If anything, this should be concerning for the rest of the National Football League. And here is why. Tom Brady is going to have another piece of handlebars to really grab hold of, because everybody's going to say, oh, he's got to have surgery. He's 44. He's not going to be able to bounce back from this. That's going to be a little man on his shoulder that's going to tell him every day, they're going to doubt you. They're going to doubt that a 40-plus-year-old man can come back from surgery after winning it. Can he do it again? The cliff is right there. He's going to walk off and just completely fall and hit his face. He says, no, this is not what he believes. This is not what Bruce Arians believes. And I don't believe it either, because he is so unique. He is so disciplined, and he's always taken such great pride in taking care of his body, being healthy, and doing the right things to ensure that that is not of any concern throughout the regular season. Now, we all understand that injuries happen, things happen, freak accidents happen. But when it comes to Tom Brady, he tries to eliminate all those other outside variables as much as he possibly can.
Yeah, I like the point, but I still find myself being conflicted. Like, I totally agree with the things you're saying, G. I want to really just kind of expand on that, but then there's another part of me that says that you've got to be concerned with his age. There's no way to get around that. And we can play as much charades with this as we'd like to play. And he did just come off of winning a Super Bowl and a Super Bowl MVP, and that isn't as impressive a feat as you could possibly pull off. But I still find myself saying, at the age that he is, how is his arm going to react? He doesn't know how it's going to react. I know he puts money into his health and his maintenance of his body, and, you know, the food that he eats and how much sleep and the oxygen that goes in his. I get all of those things, but at some point, the one thing that we are all guaranteed is that our body is going to fail us. Now, when you think about, will it fail you quickly, or will we see it happen during the duration of a period of time? I'm not 100% sure on that. I'm sold on the resume. I'm sold on the credibility. I'm sold on the equity that Tom Brady has built up through the years. And it makes me believe that he's indestructible. It makes me believe that if anybody can go out here and continue to play at that level and not fall off the cliff, it's Tom Brady. But I also look at the realities of, man, I think about how, and listen, I can say it, I played in the pros. I can think about how my body feels from days to day. I can think about how quickly I can go in a day from feeling pretty good to feeling really, really bad. I just don't know how his body is going to handle these upcoming seasons moving forward, whether it be the wear and tear of his drops, whether it be the torquing of throwing the ball, whether it be taking those hits, whether it's all of those things given. I think that it's safe to say we are going to start to see a decline. How rapid that decline is and how effective he can be and how much they can mask it with the way they call plays and with the personnel groupings that they have, that remains to be seen. I trust it. I'll say I'm going to go with it, but I am conflicted that I believe that age is going to begin to be a serious factor in what Tom Brady brings to the table.
Look, as great as Tom Brady was last year, and he was phenomenal.
Here we go.
He was as good as, he gets. He won the Super Bowl. I'm just saying, we've seen a little decline. You guys know, if you had given Tom Brady all of those weapons in his prime, even 5 years ago, his numbers would have been way better than they were, and they were good as they were. But they would have been the Randy Moss years type numbers, if not better. And so he was great, though. He didn't, he led the league in completions of 20 yards or more, and it was his career high. All right? He threw for the second most touchdowns of his career, which was 40, and then he threw for like the fourth highest yards total in his career at age 43. So he was phenomenal. And Greg, I agree with you. I don't expect a decline. I don't think he will fall off. And I think that they should enter the season as the favorites to get to the Super Bowl in the NFC. But because I don't live in the wonderland that Greg Jennings lives in, where it rains rose petals and we eat chocolate for dinner and every day is Christmas, I must point out that Father Time is coming. And it could come next year. I'm just saying it's a possibility. He's 44. At some point, Greg, we're not going to be able to say you're going to try to mock me. You're going to try to mock me, but these are Hall of Famers, so you should bite your tongue. Peyton Manning, from 39 touchdowns, 4,700 yards one year to 9 touchdowns and 2,200 yards the next year. Your guy, Brett Favre, from 33 touchdowns, 7 picks one year to 11 touchdowns and 18 picks the next year. Father Time comes, and when he comes with an elbow.
Oh, they say he wants the milk and cookies downstairs.
Let me just quickly say something. So I do a gambling column for Fox Sports, and I basically nailed exactly what was going to happen to Brady. The first 2 months will be rocky. Avoid betting on Tampa. After that, Brady always crushes the second half of the season. He is going to do the exact same thing this year. He's going to come out looking creaky, and Chris Broussard's going to do a victory lap. Oh, look at Brady. He's falling off a cliff. It's not happening, Chris. This ain't Peyton Manning. We need to stop with the Peyton comparisons. You heard Greg. There was a neck surgery. There were multiple neck surgeries for Peyton Manning. Stop. Don't bring it up anymore. Brady's 44. He's healthy. He's got an impeccable offensive line. Go look at the numbers. One of the top 10 units in the league. Greg, I hate to say it. I'm sick of it. Tom Brady's going to be back here. We're going to be here next February, 2022. Can Brady do this at 45? Greg, it's a lock, right? We're going to be doing this.
Yeah, I truly believe so. And the reason to that is because he takes care of his body, not just off the field, but even during game. Like, Chris, I get it. You want to compare. Everybody wants to always throw out Peyton Manning and Brett Favre and all these great quarterback, Hall of Fame quarterbacks, but they did not take care of themselves the way that Tom does, not only off the field, but even on the field, during play, during that 3-hour window. He gets rid of the ball. He doesn't really take the sack. Yes, it's counted as a sack, but he doesn't even really get hit. He just gives himself up. Like he's trying to save himself the wear and tear that we all endure. And then when we try to compare him across to other positions, that's not even fair. We can't even do that because he doesn't run routes. He doesn't give the wear and tear on his lower extremities. He doesn't hit guys like you did, LeVar. So his upper body and his physical body is not going to endure the wear and tear that you did or I did or so many other guys across this league do. He doesn't allow himself to go through that grueling process. I'm not saying he doesn't experience the wear and tear and his body doesn't ache, but I know this from experience. When you walk away from something or you stop doing something long enough, that's when your body starts to shut down. True. That's when you start to show your age. But he has not done that. He goes on vacation. What does he bring? His helmet, shoulder pad, football. He's constantly trying to stay active because he knows he can't take that extended period of time off like he could when he was younger, like we could when we were younger. That's why it's going to work. He has found a way to extend his career. I don't see it coming to an end anytime soon. Sorry, Chris.
It's uncharted territory, but I'm conflicted. I really am, because when Father Time on them stairs to go downstairs and get the milk and cookies, he's there to get the milk and cookies. So I'm just saying, I don't want to be in the kitchen when he come in there. I'd like to be somewhere different. And at some point, sneak up on you, you know? And it's going to happen to Tom Brady. As much as we think of him, it's going to happen to Tom Brady at some point. Now, the question is, will it happen on the field or not? Will we see it take place? Will we see it play out or not. And I think that that's the biggest key. But I'm not going to bet against him for certain.
Let me say this for the record. I expect Tom Brady to be great next year. Right now, I'm thinking they get into the Super Bowl again. So I'm not expecting him to fall off next year. But I am just presenting the facts to our viewers. Because at some point, as LeVar said, Father Time is coming. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying it's a possibility at 44 years old. I don't expect it next year, but it's a possibility.
That's like saying we're all going to die.
Wonderland.
You know that?
I'm eating chocolate chip cookies for dinner. Like
that's a good one, G&J.
Broussard, you really hit a nerve with Greg Jennings. I love this version of Greg and that sweater, too.
No mercy.
Jimmy Garoppolo ended last season early, going down with an injury in November. Despite going 13-3 in 2019 and making a Super Bowl appearance, Jimmy G's injuries have led to speculation the 49ers might be looking to move on from their high-priced young quarterback. But Niners GM John Lynch says he has no doubt that Jimmy G will be their quarterback come September, so long as he's healthy. Lynch said, quote, "I believe things can happen, and I believe they will for him. I really believe that Jimmy G is our guy." LeVar Arrington, are you buying that the Niners are really going to stick with Jimmy G.Q. Garoppolo?
Well, I think it's well played, first and foremost, by John Lynch. The wordplay of that, it was very, very well thought out and well delivered. And I do believe they believe in what's his name, Jimmy Garoppolo? Yeah. I believe they believe in Garoppolo. And the reason why I believe they believe in him is because he's proven that they should believe in him. And they've proven that they can't win without him. So unless you have a different alternative in terms of how you're going to move and who that's going to be for your team, you got to believe in having Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, I've seen all of the stuff going back and forth, and Jimmy Garoppolo finally came out and kind of leaked his own version of how he was feeling and how things have been discussed. He's been one of the most disrespected quarterbacks in the league. In some instances, maybe one of the most disrespected quarterbacks, in the sense that everybody talks about why Jimmy Garoppolo isn't the answer. Everybody talks about why you have to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo. These have been conversations that have really, really pushed on and have grown as time has moved on. Jimmy Garoppolo misses a pass in the Super Bowl. Everybody holds him accountable for it. But people don't talk about how Jimmy Garoppolo threw so well and played so well that they had a two possession lead against the Kansas City Chiefs. And with that defense being as good as it was, should have been able to hold up and been stout enough to deliver San Francisco another Super Bowl. So when I look at what Jimmy G has accomplished, the one thing that I really like and respect about Jimmy G is he accepts who he is. He doesn't want to be the biggest name player on the team. He just wants to be the quarterback of the team and play. He doesn't worry about if you see him around town with somebody who does film, in different industries. He just wants to go out and have a nice meal, get something to eat, have a nice drink while he's out with a nice, cloth napkin, not paper. I'm not mad at who Jimmy G is, and I believe if you get to know him, I've never met him, I'd like to meet him because I think he looks like a pretty cool dude. So I tend to look at Jimmy Garoppolo and say, if I'm knowing him, he's in my locker room, he's a part of my team, there's a reason why our team has success when he's playing. Yes, if he's healthy, we keep him. For certain.
Yeah, I'm buying it. They definitely are committed to Jimmy Garoppolo, but it does not mean that they aren't shopping, that
Indeed.
they aren't looking, that they aren't peeking outside their windows and their offices and that organization looking to see who they can possibly bring in to upgrade. When you talk to Kyle Shanahan and you talk to John Lynch, which I had the opportunity to do this season after calling 2 of their games, they like what Jimmy Garoppolo affords them. He's athletic. He can make every throw on the football field, but the best ability is availability. He's just not healthy. We haven't seen him. The number one thing that you have to be in this game is healthy and available, and he hasn't been that. So when you have a quarterback that hasn't, yes, has he won, but it hasn't been in fashions of what we're accustomed to seeing quarterbacks do in this era, in this style of NFL that we're seeing, which is the passing league first. It's been at the hand of the scheme, running the ball, getting guys completely wide open and scheming them. That's what Kyle Shanahan prides himself on doing. And so Jimmy Garoppolo, we put attention to it, that pass that he missed, Emmanuel Sanders, you got to make that throw. In this offense, you have to make that throw. And he hasn't proven that he can be healthy and make those throws consistently enough to where they completely shut the door on looking to upgrade. And that's why I believe that they are committed to him only if they cannot upgrade him. But you said this at the beginning of your statement, LeVar. This is great wordplay. This is John Lynch doing what a good GM should be doing. He's ensuring that, look, Jimmy, you're our guy. But we're going to always evaluate. Mm-hmm. That's the name of the game. We're going to always continue to evaluate and try to upgrade not just the guys around you, but even you, if the guys around you need an upgrade at your position. And so that's the competitive nature of this league. John Lynch has played in it for years. Kyle Shanahan has coached some really great quarterbacks. He knows what he's looking for. Jimmy Garoppolo can get it done. But if they can upgrade, you better believe that they will.
But here's the thing. This is the time to upgrade. Isn't a guy named Deshaun Watson out there? Why have, and maybe, they're doing it under wraps and we don't know what's going on, but they don't seem to be a player in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. And
can I say
they
something
should
really quick,
be.
Chris?
He's better. Yeah.
Let me say this. When we talk about Deshaun Watson, he would be a great fit, but if you're having to give up so much, that's not what they're all about. They've established that defense, like giving up Nick Bosa and whatever that would be required to get and obtain Deshaun Watson.
I heard
it's
Nick
not really
Bosa,
worth it if they feel like
Garoppolo,
if they're healthy, they can continue to win.
First round picks, Garoppolo, Bosa was things that I heard on the rumor mill. They would have to give up a lot. I'm with you on that one, Greg.
Go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, I mean, I'd hate to give up Bosa, but look, I think that, to your point, LeVar, Jimmy Garoppolo has been disrespected to the nth degree. And I know he's not Deshaun Watson. He's not Pat Mahomes. He's not Aaron Rodgers. But people talk about Jimmy Garoppolo like he's Drew Lock or something. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo has proven that he's a winner. Mm-hmm. He has. Since he's been in San Francisco, they're 22-8 in the regular season. When he's out, they're 7-19.
That's right.
Now, you got the same defense, the same running game, the same Kyle Shanahan there when Garoppolo's not there, but they can't win.
So you can't say it's all scheme?
This guy is a winner. And it can't be all scheme because when he's not there, they don't win.
You're right, Chris.
And obviously the 1 year he was fully healthy, he got them to a Super Bowl. Now, again, I understand the warts and all that, but I'm just saying they have not done well without Jimmy Garoppolo, and when he steps in, they do great. Do we remember what they were before he got there?
Bad.
They were 1-10.
Yeah.
And he wins 5 straight games at the end of the season when you know the guys weren't into it, and he gets them up. Now, I agree, he's got to stay healthy, and that's the biggest problem with him.
That's the only
is he's not healthy. Yeah. He's not a perfect pass. But, Greg, the Emmanuel Sanders pass, I get it. He missed it. But, my goodness, we act like he's the only quarterback that's ever missed on a post pattern or fly pattern or whatever it was. Like, I mean, it happens. And he wasn't the only guy that cost them that Super Bowl.
I don't want to be the only guy.
They were running the ball fairly well. They ran it great all postseason. They should have ran the ball, kept running the ball.
Somebody needs to play devil's advocate, Chris, okay? Let me just lay it out. Jimmy Garoppolo's 29 years old, LeVar.
Yep.
He's played more than 6 games in a season once. So that's not a good sign. That doesn't mean he's going to keep getting hurt, but once he's played more than 6 games. And you guys keep talking about disrespect. Greg, I know you watched that NFC Championship game, Packers, 49ers. Is it disrespect when you ask your quarterback to throw the ball 8 times, or is it we don't trust him as much as we do my offense, i.e. the running game? He was 6 for 8 in the NFC Championship game. To me, that's a franchise that doesn't totally trust their quarterback. Maybe you could say it was just playing to Green Bay's weaknesses, fine. But there are, I think, more questions than answers with Jimmy G. And this is kind of like one of those relationship deals. You want to move in with the girl, but you don't want to put the ring on it. You're living together, but maybe you're looking around, a little bit of a wandering eye. It's clear they're not ready to put a ring on Jimmy Garoppolo and make him the long-term decision. Maybe it is Deshaun Watson. Maybe it's Sam Darnold, a cheaper alternative. But, Greg, I think it would be silly of us to sit here and say,
Will you
Jimmy
stop
G's the
it
guy.
with the Sam Darnold?
Listen, he's available. He's cheaper, and we haven't seen the best of Darnold.
I don't think it's completely silly for us to say that Jimmy Garoppolo is the guy, because if they are not able or unwilling to come to terms to grab a Deshaun Watson, and we're making it seem like it's easy. It is not as easy as just go get him. Well, if you go get him, that means what you have, you will no longer have. And so how that changes the landscape of what you've created, what you've built as a recruiter, as a draft guru that they've drafted very well, both on the offensive side of the ball and defensively. And so you would have to start to break that down for one position when you know that we can still win with what we have if we have to play with it, if we have the health. Like, we act like all those wins that Jimmy Garoppolo has afforded them has come at the hand of their team just not being healthy. Like, when this season, their Rolodex of guys that were on IR and out of the games was unbelievable. Yeah, it was a Pro Bowl list. Like, everybody that you could think of on their team that is of mentioning was out at some point this season. There was no one that was really constant. Even Fred Warner, one of the great linebackers, like, everybody was out at some point. And so when you have things like that you have to overcome, yes, we can sit here and say and act like, yes, Jimmy Garoppolo has won when he's in. Yeah, but when he hasn't been in, neither has so many other guys, which we got to put that into the equation as well and stop acting like it was just Jimmy. I'm not trying to just throw shade at Jimmy.
That is a little shade, G. That's a little shade, G.
He can get the job done.
And saying he only threw the ball eight times is a little shade, too.
You need more than just a quarterback that can just
fits his role. He fits his role, guys. Y'all stop hating on him.
No mercy. On Saturday, the former two-time super middleweight world champ, Anthony the Dog Durrell, returns and will face off against the rising Kyron Shut It Down Davis. Don't miss the action Saturday on Fox and the Fox Sports app. Russell Wilson's teammate LJ Collier has dismissed the trade rumors swirling around the QB. Told the NFL Network he puts zero stock in any of the rumors and said, quote, "Not buying it at all. He's a winner, man. Russ is going to be our QB for years to come." But this morning, a new report has surfaced just how much Wilson has been frustrated with the Seahawks offense. He stormed out of a meeting about how to fix the offense after he felt like his suggestions were being dismissed. The report also said a trade potentially with the Jets, Saints, Raiders, or Dolphins could happen, quote, in the near future. Greg Jennings, do you think the drama in Seattle has been overblown?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And when you think about what teammates end up saying about other guys when they aren't really sure or they aren't really certain, it's a slippery slope. And I don't think, yes, all teammates would want a guy like Russell Wilson to come back. So they're going to say, yeah, he's going to be our guy. But that does not look like it's the reality. That's not set in stone. Like, when you hear Russell Wilson and you think about the things that he's been asking for, influence to be more in a part of the offense and scheme and having just say, like, when you think about how little he's really asking for on the grand scheme of things, they're not even giving me say when it comes to our offensive scheme. And I'm Russell Wilson. Across the league, I'm looked at as revered as one of the best in the game. And I can't have input at home. I can't have input within my own relationships, my own marriage here with this team. That's a problem. And I think Russell Wilson has always done things the correct way. He's always been a stand-up guy. He's always nodded his head in agreement and been in one accord and in harmony, perfect unison with the organization, always done things the right way. Now he's at the point of his career where he's realizing I can't just always nod my head when I really don't agree or when I really don't want to. I have to speak up for me, because if I don't, no one else will. And that's what Russell Wilson is doing, regardless of if the protection is really as bad as we all want to think it is, or the film or the tape says. We all know he's a quarterback that plays off script at times. And quarterbacks that get outside of the pocket, they bring on more sacks. We understand that. And so offensive coordinators have to adjust sometimes, and they have to take the good with the bad. We've seen that with Aaron Rodgers. We've seen that with Patrick Mahomes. We've seen that with so many quarterbacks that can use their legs. Russell Wilson is a great talent. They better get this right.
I look at it like this. Russ, he has his concerns. It has its merits. The Seahawks, if they want to trade him, if that's what they want to, kind of investigate and see. We just sat there and said in the last segment with Garoppolo. It doesn't matter who you are. We could be building around you, or we could be building, and replacing you and upgrading at your position. Now, it may be more difficult to upgrade at Russ's position, but I think when you look at this, the biggest issue I have, whether it's a non-issue or not, is it becoming a public issue. I think that's the misstep in all of this. You know why? Because Russ has a lot of merits to what he's got going on, a lot of equity, a lot of credibility. He's accomplished a lot. And so has the Seattle Seahawks, and so has Carroll, the coaching staff. So when I look at why there's a trade rumor, the trade rumor seems to continue to be framed based off of Russ being disgruntled, that he's not having a say, that he doesn't make a difference in what's taking place in the decision-making for the Seahawks. This should have never turned into a public soap opera to begin with. But to say that there's no smoke and there's no fire to this situation based upon it becoming a public situation, I think that's a misread. I think it's a misread, and you have to take a good, long, hard look at the fact that if you can get a good situation in replacing Russell Wilson with trades, and you can get a value you feel good about, you're going to entertain it. No one, no matter how good the player is, no one likes being told what they need to do and what they have to do and what they should do, especially if that's their job description to do it. And I think that the minute it became a public spectacle, it's not about Russ sticking up for himself or having a voice for himself. It's about you're trying to leverage and strong arm the Seattle Seahawks to make the decisions he wants by using and leveraging the media. I think that could be a misstep here. I don't think he gets traded, but I do think that it hurts and could have created fractures within the relationship of Russell Wilson and the Seahawks.
LeVar, I think you're right that there's smoke there. There are issues that need to be worked out. But I think it's overblown. And we can go back time and time again. Tom Brady in New England a few years ago, he and Belichick can't get along. They can't last another season, and then they win another Super Bowl. Eventually, they parted ways, but they still got another Super Bowl. We just talked about Jimmy G. I mean, a week ago, it seems like everybody in the league thought Jimmy G was on his way. There were stories about him maybe being released. And, they're going to go after Deshaun Watson, and, they're a player and all this. And John Lynch comes out today and said, or yesterday, we're keeping Jimmy G. Tom Brady and Bruce Arians earlier in the season. What is Arians doing? My goodness, he's calling out Tom Brady. This isn't working. We had people on our radio show that knew Tom Brady saying, he's not happy. Come on, who would be happy with that? And they obviously go on to win the Super Bowl. Even Aaron Rodgers. All right, Jordan Love, wow. Aaron's drinking the scotch. He's ready to move on. Or even after this season, Aaron's upset. Could something happen? Could they move? They didn't bring in Jordan Love for nothing. And what Aaron Rodgers will be there. When stuff gets out in the media, it looks a lot bigger than it is. Now, sometimes stuff is legitimately dangerous. But a lot of times, just a headline Just us talking about it ad nauseum on shows like this or national radio shows can make it seem like there's a groundswell and something's about to pop. They would be nuts to pop and trade Russell Wilson. So I think it's overblown.
Greg, I'm loving this player empowerment era. We do have to thank LeBron for this, right? LeBron says, I'm going to L.A. I'm going to get Anthony Davis with me. I win a championship. Tom Brady, I don't like the way Belichick's treating me. I'm going to leave. I'm going to go into Tampa. I'm going to bring in my guys. I won a Super Bowl. We're seeing it everywhere now. And, it doesn't seem like Chris agrees with me here. But, Greg, I absolutely love it. If Russell Wilson is unhappy and wants out, tell them. Make a move. You don't want guys like us and radio and podcasts and internet defining your legacy. You want your legacy? You're unhappy with what they're doing? Call your shot. Get the hell out of town. Get traded. We're seeing Deshaun Watson do it right now. He's going to hopefully get what he wants and go somewhere else. He's unhappy with the organization. Greg, this is a great thing for sports. It's more content for everybody. And I think the player empowerment era really should be applauded right now in all the sports.
Yeah, I agree 100%, Jason. And we can list all of those situations that you just alluded to, Chris, and say that, okay, we were wrong. There was issues there. And it wasn't just coming from this side. It was coming from Aaron Rodgers. It's coming from Russell Wilson. It was coming from Tom Brady. It's come from Deshaun Watson. It's come from Carson Wentz. Like, it has happened. When we hear things like this, yeah, we want to think that, oh, yeah, teams will work it out. They should work it out because the given talent says you don't get rid of a transcendent talent like Deshaun Watson. You don't let Tom Brady walk out the door. I don't care how old he is. You don't let Carson Wentz, even though he was as trash as he was last year, you don't just let him walk because he wants to leave. You don't do those type of things, but we're seeing it happen. Why? Because teams are also understanding that I can't bring this fracture into my locker room, specifically at the quarterback position, because they carry too much weight. They are the voice. They're usually the voice and the messenger of the coaching staff. And if you can't if your voice is not being echoed in unison and on the same page with the players because of your quarterback, you have an issue. I'm sorry. I've seen it. I've lived it. This is a real reality, and it's a real problem.
The media has served the organizations for many, many, many moons. That's been the relationship. It's been controlled, and it's generally been local media and connection to that. Now you have a social media evolution. It has changed the rules of engagement, and people have to adjust and they have to evolve. It seems as though quarterbacks have started to evolve and move down that lane, as you mentioned, J, Mac, and G. And organizations are going to have to follow along and follow suit very quickly and understand that this is such a fast-paced way of getting information and news out anymore that you can't paint a player into the corner by using the media to kind of illustrate what you want them to represent. You're going to have to figure out how to engage and address your players in a different manner than what you have historically, because now they have a voice that may reach more people than the voice that, or the amount of people that your voice as an organization reaches. And that could actually serve to work against you as an organization and the popularity and the business and the growth of your organization versus helping it. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out because, again, that voice is very strong for these guys, and they can get away with doing it because social media gives you the platform to not be silenced.
Greg, look, I'm with you that there are legitimate issues. I'm not denying that. But I'm saying they can be worked out. These are grown men. Put on your big boy pants. All right, it's the National Football League. Pete Carroll, sit down with your quarterback and talk this out. He's too good. This has not gone the way of Deshaun Watson yet. But if you keep ignoring him, if you don't keep the lines of communication open, if you aren't open to what he's saying, you could lose the only franchise quarterback you have ever had. And you didn't get one from 1976 to 2011. So it could be another 30 years before you get the next one. So work this thing out with your quarterback. He has not demanded a trade. If he does that, then okay, we're in trouble. But he has yet to do that. So sit down, talk it out with him. He's not blowing smoke. He is getting hit too much. He's gotten sacked more than any quarterback in the history of the league since the merger. I mean, I get it. He runs and he lengthens plays and all that stuff. But the offensive line could be upgraded too. So work it out with Russ or you'll regret it.
No mercy. The Utah Jazz handed LeBron and the Lakers their worst defeat of the NBA season last night in a 114-89 blowout. The 4-game losing streak matches the longest the Lakers have had in the past 2 seasons, and LA's next 3 games are against Portland, Golden State, and Phoenix. After the game, LeBron said, quote, "It's a tough stretch for us. You know this won't define who we will be for the rest of the season and for the long haul. That's for sure." Fox Sports NBA analyst Ric Bucher joins us now. Rick, big deal or no deal that LeBron's squad got blown out?
You know, the difficulty of having me on later in the show is that the damage that you guys do, there's not enough time left in the show to fix it all. No, it's not a big deal. Was it a big deal last year when at the end of January they were on the road in Boston and they got blown out? Or that they lost 4 of their last 5 games in the regular season bubble? 3 of those games, which were blowouts. Now, did people make a big deal out of them? I'm sure that they did. But can we learn from history? You guys are falling into the same LeBron trap that he always sets, which I can't explain it, but when he doesn't care, he really doesn't care. He'll get his numbers. He can always get his numbers. But the idea that these Lakers, which is now a small ball team, can play small ball without their small ball center, Anthony Davis, and their point guard, second best playmaker, and somehow they are going to beat the Utah Jazz in Salt Lake City in February when the Utah Jazz, this is what they're playing for. They want to have the best record in the Western Conference, if not the entire league. They have something to prove. The Lakers have nothing to prove, and certainly don't have anything to prove when 2 of their 5 starters are out. I told you the last time we talked about this going into the game that the Jazz were going to win and that it didn't mean anything. Now, 24 hours later, I'm supposed to come back and go, oh, wait a minute, they got blown out. This is not a good thing. It doesn't mean anything because we've seen this time and time again. Lakers and LeBron taking losses like this, and in the end, what did it mean? Not a damn thing.
The great deflector has gone. You want to go next? Great qualifier. Do you want to put your qualifiers on it?
Look, I'll go because I'm going to be brief. And obviously, you know, I agree with Rick. I told you this guy. Look, it's February 25th. All right, there's 3 months left in the regular season. And we've covered this league long enough to know this is not a big deal. Do the Lakers have some things they can work out? Yeah, sure. But they're without their second and third best players. Their second and third best scorers. Their first and second best defenders. All right? And one of the toughest things to do when you come back after winning a championship is that next year's regular season. Because you know it's all about May and June. This doesn't matter. It's all about the playoffs for us. So it's tough to get up for those games. And I told you guys, all of their role players, Kyle Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, Marc Gasol, they have been raised up a level now. All right? They're fine in their little role when they're behind LeBron, Anthony Davis, and Dennis Schroeder. But with Schroeder and Davis gone, now they go up a level. The expectations rise. What they have to do changes. And they're not cut out for it. And so they're not going to beat the hottest team in the league on the road when the All-Star break is a week away or 2 weeks away or whatever it is. So, no, it's not a big deal. The Lakers will be fine. I'm not saying they're going to just gallivant through the Western Conference playoffs because the West is tough this year and it's going to be a battle for them. But to sit here in February and panic when you've seen playoff LeBron activated time and time and time and time and time again, no, I can't panic over this. Now, LeVar, I got to hear it from you because you said this was a must-win.
You know what? I see what you're trying to do here, and that's fine. Let me just start off by saying, when I said it was a must-win, I do not backpedal. I do not take it back. I do not say I misstepped. It was a must-win. The team is struggling, all right?
So what now?
This team is wounded, it's vulnerable, and they're struggling. You're on a losing streak, get a win. If it's just as easy to sit there and say, oh, it's easy to lose, oh, they're not motivated, oh, they don't care, then win the game. Win the game. How about get up early enough and rest LeBron and cruise the rest of the way? Like, I get that we say, historically speaking, oh, they could get blown out. Oh, they got blown out last year. Oh, let me come on the show and clean this up because you guys have made a mess of this. You know what? Don't give in to the LeBron trap. Don't fall into the LeBron trap. Okay, I get all of that, and it makes a ton of sense. The reason why this was a must-win to me is because this team needs to understand that they can snap losing streaks, that they can play ball, they can play competitive basketball as a team as they move towards the end of this season. You don't want to get into a point of where you find yourself in a losing rut that you can't get out of. They very easily, depending on how long AD is out, they very easily could find themselves in a very, very bad situation of losing. And how much that losing may be, how much of a slide that may be, I don't know. But it could be bad. J-Mac opened it up earlier and said it's a hard schedule that they have, that they've drawn. Yeah. J-Mac, please, go ahead, bring it home.
Rick, on the grand scale, when you zoom out, Rick, yes, you are correct. This game doesn't matter that much. However, when Ted Cruz thinks the Lakers are having a bad week, it's going awful right now. Listen, I'm not going overboard, Rick, okay? If Dennis Schroeder don't play in the next game and they lose that one, good, then you're looking at, oh, man, geez, we got Golden State, Phoenix. Oh, we're getting passed by Phoenix in the West. Oh, and now we're tumbled to fourth. Okay, and the second half season, the schedule, 8 back-to-backs. Rick, LeBron's 36. AD coming off the calf injury. They're not playing him a ton. You just start to wonder how far the Lakers can actually fall. Do they fall to 6? Do they have to go through a difficult team and then the Clippers and then the Jazz? I mean, you don't want to just totally toss the regular season out, which is kind of what it sounds like you're doing. Like, there has to be some breaking point where the Lakers can't say, hey, man, we could just punt for the next 3 months.
They can't just slide, guys.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, first of all, are they going to slide for the next 3 months? No. You two guys are the guys who go to the refrigerator and they see the milk and they check the expiration date and there's 3 days left. You're like, oh my God, what are we? Somebody go to the store and get some new milk.
I'll go at least a week.
Any second.
I'll go at least a week after that milk it's expired. I'll go at least a week. I'll drink that milk a week after.
Well, you know
gotta know where I came from.
You're not sounding like it right now. You're not sounding that brave. You're not sounding like you believe in homogenization when it comes to come to milk. I don't even know what I'm talking about.
Listen, this is all I'm going to offer. I'm going to offer this to you guys. It was a must-win because I felt as though it would be great for your morale to be able to get that must-win. So we can look at the different levels of it and debate the levels of what must-win is and what it represents. I get that. But in all seriousness, when you look at what took place in that game last night, you're looking at a team that doesn't want to play in the paint. They do not want to be in the paint. Gasol doesn't want to be in the paint. They don't want to be in the paint. And you know, you only have one guy that's fighting in the paint, and we're looking at him and we're saying he's not playing like he was playing when he was in with the Clippers. Well, it's because he's there alone. When I look at the way they lost, no defense at all. Like that, you know, Utah did what they wanted to do. All right. They made plays, they made baskets, they created plays, they created baskets, and the Lakers were trying. And I made this point earlier. LeBron was trying to do what LeBron does: slash, get to the hole, make plays, create space, facilitate, do what you need to do. There's something to be said about finding a rhythm, even if in losing, even if in managing minutes. They were just abysmal, and there was no way of looking at saying that, you know what, I can understand that it's early, we got a lot of season left, and they'll get it together come playoff time. But if you look that bad, you have to have the conversation of why it's a must-win in my book, because you not only want to try to win those type of games, but if you're going to lose them, at least lose them looking somewhat
they were down
competitive
20
in the game.
the entire second half, Rick.
LeVar and J-Mac, I would lend a little credence, a tad, a smidgen to what you're saying if Anthony Davis and Dennis Schroeder played. They didn't. I mean, you can't just take away one of the top 10 players in the league and then a guy that's a nice little playmaker and defender and expect that they're going to be at the top of their game against the best team in the league record-wise.
Just don't be that far.
That's what you seem to be forgetting.
No, just don't be that far
that
down
AD
off
wasn't
your game.
there.
Just don't be that far away up on your game.
Rick, final word, Rick, quickly.
Look, if they hadn't won a championship, if I didn't know what they could play, and if they weren't a small ball team when fully formed, which we've seen is that the Jazz are vulnerable to because the Clippers beat them in a small ball game just a week or so ago, then I would say all this has credence. Look, it's not a good look. I've just seen so many times with LeBron and the Lakers where they will completely give a game away. And you can look at it and say, well, they shouldn't do that or they shouldn't be that bad. But the end result is it doesn't matter in the big picture. I've seen it happen with them. And so for me to take this as some indicator of what they're going to be 3 months from now, I simply can't. History tells me not to. You are falling into the same trap that I've been in that trap. I'm telling you, don't step there.
Okay.
Don't step there. It's going to take your leg off.
We're going to replay this.
Help me, help you.
No mercy.
Much has been made about Zion Williamson's path to superstardom, but this season, Stan Van Gundy's move to put the ball in Zion's hands more has unlocked new facets of his game. Zion dropped 32 last night, and now, at 20 years old, he became the fourth youngest All-Star behind Kobe, LeBron, and Magic. Rick, is this proof Zion has lived up to the hype of a future MVP player?
Man, if I thought you guys had made a mess of the Utah Jazz-Lakers game, this one really took the cake.
Oh, wow.
No, he has. What was he supposed to be? In fact, you guys kind of got there on your own, totally by accident. What was he supposed to be from the very beginning? What was he advertised as? The next LeBron James. That's what I heard time after time. He's the next LeBron James. And I thought, he's not the next LeBron James. He doesn't have the same game. Can he be dynamic? Can he be exciting? Can he sell tickets? Yes. Is he going to be the next LeBron James? No, he doesn't have that bag. And so you guys admitted that. He's not the next LeBron James. So no, he hasn't lived up to the hype. The only reason that we started this conversation today is what? Because he's the youngest with Kobe, LeBron, and Magic to make the All-Star game. Well, there's argument to be made that he shouldn't even be an All-Star this year. And let's put that to the side. But when Magic was an All-Star for the first time, he was on a Lakers team that won 60 games and won a championship. Kobe was on a team that won 62 games and went to the Western Conference Finals. LeBron was on a team that didn't go to the playoffs and finished 42-40, but they were 30-21 at the All-Star break. The wins and losses do matter. The impact on the game and the team as a whole does matter. So while I love watching Zion play, and I think that he is a freak in his own right, I don't know that we've ever seen anything quite like him. Has he lived up to the hype? Hell no, he hasn't lived up to the hype because they haven't come anywhere close as a team, leading a team to success. He has not come close, even at this early date, to those guys that he's being compared to.
Wow.
Rick, this is where you've gone off the rails. All right. I don't remember him being compared to LeBron. I certainly didn't think he'd be LeBron. I remember Charles Barkley, Larry Johnson.
You said that.
And he looks like he could be a Charles Barkley. Now, I'll give you this, Rick. I don't think he'll be as good as any of those young guys. Or, Magic, Kobe, LeBron. I don't think he'll be as good as those guys. But to put the winning or lack thereof on him, that is not right. You get a grace period as a young player. Magic was winning, but why? Oh, he had the MVP Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with him. He had Jamal Wilkes there, another Hall of Famer. Kobe was winning, but why? Oh, he had Shaq, one of the greatest big men to ever play the game. I mean, come on. Is Brandon Ingram supposed to be Shaq? Is Lonzo Ball supposed to be Kareem? I mean, come on. So LeBron James didn't make the playoffs his first 2 years, as you said. Kevin Durant didn't make the playoffs his first 2 years. I'm not going to hold it against Zion that his team is struggling in the West. But hold up. Since they've put the ball in his hands, and I'm not saying he's going to be a point guard, but he's just handling it a little more. It's another element that they've added to their offense. They put the ball in his hands a little more. They've won 7 of 12. They are climbing in the West. The playoffs are not out of. Remember, you got to get to the 10. You got to get to 10, and then you're in the play-in game. So I'm not holding the losing against Zion, but I'm just saying, since he's had the ball in his hands, they're winning a little bit more.
Yeah, they are.
And he is playing well. He's balling.
7-5, step back, watch out. 12 games, we've seen it.
It's a young team in the West.
If my opinion,
it's a young team in the West.
2-3 MVP.
They're angry.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't totally fell off on their alliance. Listen, if my opinion had parents, it would be both of y'all's having a baby. So I kind of agree with both of you, right? I think that Zion I don't think he's on the level of GOAT of GOATs. Like the names we mentioned with Kobe and with LeBron. He's not going, and it was set up, just to Rick's defense, it was set up. Does Zion take LeBron's, crown? Does he take his throne? So it was set up that way. I do not think that Zion is that type of good. I think he is GOAT good. I think he'll go down if he continues on the trajectory that he's on. Like you're saying, Broussard, I think he's GOAT good. You'll say he's a GOAT in the end. He's really, really good.
What do you mean GOAT?
But he's not a
good.
GOAT. He's not a GOAT of GOAT. Like there's levels of GOAT. There's the big Billy GOAT, like the McGruffs, right? There's 3 of them. Like he would be maybe the first GOAT that goes down and gets turned away by the troll. Whereas you got maybe one more GOAT, and then you have the GOATs that come down and go ahead and take the GOATs across to go eat some grass. That's what I would
Rick,
say.
come on, 54 games into his career, and we're saying he can't be amazing? Like, come on, when Steph Curry was a rookie, Giannis, James Harden, nobody thought these guys could win MVP awards. Zion Williamson has been incredible in 54 total games. He's 5th in the league. You love stats. Player efficiency rating, Zion 5th. Like, again, he's playing with Steven Adams, Josh Hart, Lonzo Ball. LeBron couldn't win with those guys when he was on the Lakers, okay? Let's not expect Zion to dominate record-wise this early in his career, but Rick, you're selling him way short. Our stats guy here gave me a great number. I compared Zion, Barkley earlier. Barkley took 6 threes as a rookie. When he won the MVP, 223-point attempts. Zion will evolve. All the great players do. Zion's going to win at least one MVP award.
No way.
Rick.
I don't think so.
Ability starts with availability. Let's just ignore the fact that we still have a question. Can a guy built the way he is, playing the way he does, is going to be able to sustain this over an extended period of time? I hope it's the case, and I hope he evolves because I think he's a smart kid. I think he's about all the right things. I hope he's successful. But if you're asking me, can he live up to the hype based on what I've seen to this point? He's not there yet. He hasn't demonstrated that. You're giving me 12 games and 5+ assists. I mean, We're talking about all-time greats that we're putting him in the category of. He hasn't demonstrated that he can do that yet.
No mercy. The iconic silhouette of Jerry West has been the NBA's logo for over 5 decades. But Jerry West has said recently he would have no issue with ceding the logo to someone else. Kyrie Irving posted a picture on Instagram yesterday suggesting the logo be updated to honor the late Kobe Bryant, writing, quote, "Gotta happen. I don't care what anyone says." Vanessa Bryant also posted the potential logo on her IG story and said she loved the idea. Chris Broussard, do you like this idea?
I do like it. You know, when Kobe died, I remember saying I thought they should retire his number 8 and 24 across the league. Obviously, that didn't happen either. But I think this is a great idea. People have talked about updating the logo for a while now. And if you made it any other player, if you made it Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, people are going to say, well, why not Michael Jordan or Magic Johnson? If you make it Magic, why not Bird, Dr. J? Why not, some other player, Shaq or Tim Duncan? Even if after LeBron or Steph retire, there would always be a debate, well, why not this guy? It doesn't have to be the best player ever to play the game. Kobe Bryant, though, that discussion, that debate wouldn't exist if you made it Kobe Bryant because of the tragic way in which he died. No other superstar in the league's history has died that tragically. And obviously, Kobe was also the level of player where he could be the logo. So I actually like it a lot. I think it'd be great. So I do think this is something that the league should consider.
Kyrie Irving, for me, is one of the great spitballers of all time. We've all had that friend who, when we're sitting around, they always come up with an idea that everybody goes, that's interesting. And then you dig into it a little bit and you go, that's really not an idea that works. And I would put this in that category for the reasons, Chris, you kind of touched on it. There are so many greats in the game. To be able to pinpoint one and say he's going to be the next logo. Jerry West was never officially named the logo. It's not something that was given as an achievement or a recognition. People just took it into assumed that it was his silhouette because it looked like his silhouette. The second part of what you brought up is why I wouldn't want to do it as much as I think that we should commemorate Kobe in any way possible, is that it was tragic and it is sad. And that logo would always bring back to me how we lost him. And I don't know that is what I want or would want as the logo of the entire NBA. So, look, this is a great time. If they're going to change the logo, this is a great time to do it because they're changing the manufacturer from Spalding to Wilson next year. And I do believe that the logo should be updated. I do believe that it having the silhouette that more reflects the athletes that are in the league today, largely black, rather than having it look like the silhouette, let's face it, of a white dude, would be an appropriate step. But to make it the silhouette of a specific player or Kobe in particular and acknowledge and identify it as that, I just don't believe that serves the best interests of the NBA.
I think from a sentimental value, you can make the case for a lot of players. And it doesn't just, start and stop with Kobe. But when you look at how much goes into building a brand, people don't understand how much time, how much resource, financially, marketing, all the different aspects that go into making sure that you can build a sustainable, recognizable, global brand. It's not that represents a white man in the NBA logo currently. It represents the white in our flag color. It's red, white, and blue. I think it should stay the same. And the reason why it's the same is because when you're talking about all the greats that have played under that logo, there's a connection. There are a few things that connect you. As a former player, the shield connects me to Mean Joe Green. It connects me to the start, the Lawrence Taylors, the guys that I grew up watching. And so to me, the nostalgia, the history that's connected to all of the experiences that have been under that brand, under that logo, I don't think that you go away from that, and I don't think that you go in a different direction and say, oh, well, it's time for a revamp. It's time for it to be new. This isn't like what happened in Washington. It's not a derogatory logo. There's not something, that would call to mind something that's very disrespectful. Even though you said, there's more black athletes now than when that took place. But I just believe it should stay the same. And if you want to start somewhere, start with the conferences. Start with Western and Eastern conferences. Redo those first. Let's crawl before we walk.
Yeah. NBA's going through a lot of stuff. I think Rick hit on something that's probably needs a lot more time to expand on. But the messenger here, Kyrie Irving, remember, there's the guy who tried to scuttle the bubble a few months back. But I'm kind of with Chris. I don't hate the idea of the new logo. No mercy. Myles Garrett is known for terrorizing quarterbacks and wreaking havoc in the backfield for the Cleveland Browns. However, Garrett pitched himself on Twitter to Mark Cuban and the Mavs with a basketball hype video saying, quote, "You need a big guard? LeVar, is Myles Garrett the NFL player you would like to see in the NBA?"
No. Mo Alley Cox is for the tight end for the Colts, man. Led VCU to his first Atlantic 10 championship. He's an all-time leader in field goal percentage. I mean, he's a real basketball player. Myles is an athlete, and that is impressive, that video of Myles. But, you got to go with Mo as a real basketball player.
Yeah, look,
for me, it's
the video is nice. I mean, but go ahead, Rick. Go ahead.
For me, it's Patrick Mahomes. You know who I want to meet? Who I really want to meet? I want to meet the videographer, because this looks good, but who are those guys standing around watching him go in? And I like the cutaways where he shoots it and then, the ball's going in the basket. I can't tell how far he's shooting it from. I mean, it's well crafted. But Patrick Mahomes is already throwing no-look passes in the NFL and reinventing the game of football from the quarterback position. I'd love to see what he might be able to do in basketball.
Broussard, real quick, who you got?
I'm with Rick Mahomes. I've seen video of him shooting threes, dunking on people, handle. Not social distance defense like they were playing on Myles Garrett. I know who you want, J-Mac. You want Sam Darnold.
No.
That's your answer to everything, Sam Darnold.
You need to look this up. Henry Ruggs was a dunking
Sam Darnold.
Yes, he was.
All right, that's it for us. We'll be back tomorrow, 9:30 a.m.